Hi everyone. So I'm doing episode 3 now. The last episode of the pod was on Twitter addiction and nofap and porn induced erectile dysfunction in young men and social anxiety. So I'll put a link in the description. You can check that one out. So now episode 3, like I said in the description of episode 2, I'm gonna make it on derealization and depersonalization. Now my depersonalization started in 2015. So now I define it as basically you feel like you're in a dream and you question reality. Yeah, your brain chemistry just has moments where it's not correct and you start to question reality and um, yeah, you just feel like in a dreamlike state, almost like as if you're super high. But obviously, that's no good if you didn't plan on that because it usually used to come to me during driving, particularly when I was on a highway for some reason. And now that's incredibly dangerous. So yeah, that's what I define as derealization, and it caused a lot of problems for me professionally and socially, which I'll get into. So let's start off with my first episode of derealization. That I was at university. Now I spoke about this with my psychologist, and we determined that the events leading up to my first episode of derealization or just a really collection of really unfortunate and coincidental events which all occurred within that short period that led to that. So I just started university. It's obviously a very stressful time. Like I said in episode 2, I was a day student. I was not living in an apartment off campus or staying in the dorms. I was staying at home because I lived 10-15 minutes away from the university. So that that was also, I also mentioned that I had a lot of social anxiety. So I used weed to cope with that, like I had the previous year when I was very lonely as well because I didn't go to university immediately. I took a year off and I didn't really do much that year. Yeah, I just worked on jobs, doing promotions or like I remember there was like 2 months when I helped out at my uncle's business. But yeah, it was just mainly just me fucking around, playing video games, smoking weed, yeah, hanging out with friends. They had all like gone to university or doing like a proper gap year. Yeah, so when I would meet up with him, that was it. But for the most part, I was very lonely. Yeah, I was extremely lonely. I remember there was periods when I would go to the mall like down the road and just like sit like on a bench and just like or like outside or in the food court or something like that, just like start a conversation with people. So I remember doing that. So what was I saying? My Yes, this was a very stressful period at that first few months of university because I was starting a university. It was yeah, I'd taken a year off, so I wasn't doing any schoolwork the year before. So obviously it's a jump up from school, and I was very rusty because the last time, so I started university in about February 2015. The last time I did anything, like I barely read in 2014. That first year, it was barely read. It was just reading like what's necessary, like text or just barely read, barely cracked a book or anything like that. And so that was the last time I did that, was like November 2013. So there was like 14 months when I done nothing. So there was that. And then also my mom was very, very ill. So it's just me and my mom. My mom was very ill. She was in hospital, in and out of hospital. So I was basically home alone. So I would I would have to worry about like getting groceries. I'd have to worry about just um, securing the house at night, um, keeping it tidy. Yeah, just like running the house because my mom was in and out of hospital, and yeah, it's just like very, very stressful. And then I remember, yeah, so that was it. I remember that. And then I was also smoking a lot of weed, and all of that stress added with the substance just randomly invoked derealization. I remember I was doing an assignment. I remember it was an assignment due Monday, and I was busy on it like Saturday evening, and I was just working. And then I just remember looking back and just feeling very spacey and like not knowing what the hell is going on. And then I thought, you know what, like, I don't know, I must just be tired or something like that. So then I just went to bed. And then Saturday, Sunday afternoon, evening, I started to work on the assignment again. And then it happened again. And I was just, came so much more intense this time. Like, I was tripping balls. Like, I don't know what was going on. I was like, I just like ran into like the road. Like, I don't know if any of you have watched that movie Numb, where the Matthew Perry's character, he gets derealization and then he runs into the road like not knowing, like he just, yeah, I just ran. I remember I just ran, got naked, went into the shower, put on cold full blast, and then I just put on like a shorts and a shirt, and I just started like running. Like, I thought, like, what is going on? I just took the dog and I just started to run like down the road, in and around the roads close to my house, and I thought I was getting a stroke or something like that. So then, yeah, and then I went back to my house, and then I don't know, I can't remember what. I just remember just feeling like I was losing control, like I was getting a stroke or something. And so um, the next morning it was there, and I didn't finish my assignment. The day after that it was there. And then I remember smoking weed like 2 or 3 days after that, and just that feeling coming back like 10 times. And yeah, and then because like my derealization was getting so bad, like I was really trippy. Like, I just remember like not feeling in tune with reality, and like not knowing what is going on. And then a few days later I spoke to my therapist, and then I told her what I had been experiencing, and she told me that she diagnosed me with derealization. We spoke for like an hour just on that, and then she eventually determined that that's what I was suffering from. And yeah, my school, my varsity, my university work just went to shit. I just couldn't do work because I was just like tripping. Like, that's what I felt like all the time with this derealization. And um, yeah, that was pretty much it. I eventually got to grips, sort of got to grips with a few months later. And then that carried on until 2016, when I just decided to stop smoking weed. And yeah, it's been like 3 years now, and it's disappeared basically all of it. Yeah. Um, yeah, like it's obviously related to your brain chemistry and your anxiety. So I started taking anxiety medicine, and that normalized my brain chemistry pretty well. And basically, yeah, I'm like 95% cured. Like I don't get it anymore, like with driving or really ever. And I think that was because of taking the anxiety medicine, understanding like what anxiety was. I think the next episode I'll speak about anxiety and how I learned to deal with that and how it just made me a better person in general, in my opinion. And yeah, just like to stop smoking weed. I think that did a great deal. That cleared my mind of it, and it took away something that was making it worse, and the anxiety medicine made it a lot better. And yeah, I don't there's honestly I don't get derealization anymore. Maybe I'll get very very mild, like honestly like a tenth of what it used to be, but I'm in full control, and that will be like once a week or something like that, and it's really not a factor in my life anymore. So yeah, these are just my experiences, my thoughts on that, and like like what I said, like stop smoking weed. If it's substance induced derealization, stop smoking weed. Try and get anxiety medicine to regulate your brain chemistry, and I think you will win the fight against derealization and depersonalization, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the third podcast, and I think the next episode will be on anxiety and how to overcome it. And yeah, I think that's what the next podcast will be about. Maybe it'll be about something else, but right now I just thought about it. What's the next podcast going to be about? So yeah, just check out episode 2 if you haven't. If NoFap, internet addiction, Twitter addiction, specifically porn-induced erectile dysfunction. If those things interest you, check out episode 2. I'll put a link in the bio. And yeah, cheers. Speak to you guys next week.